Here we go. Problem 1, draw 3 shoeboxes in an L shape. Here it is, 2-point perspective, and it has this time 3 boxes with 1 over for the L shape. So again, trying to show the movement of the ruler. This is called a floor plan. It's flat on the ground floor of everything, and it's based up basically off of the rectangular shapes, and we'll show that in a flat view as well. So here's the image with the eye level horizon line, 2-point perspective, and there it is as a finished piece, and all linear, and then a little bit of the shading with the cast shadow at the angle. So when we start with the video here, you can take a look at the image of the paper, 8.5 by 11, just horizontal format, and it'll basically begin with this sketch. So here's the drawing again, just to show it to you. And it has this top view that you can see, and you can scroll back in the video if you need to see it. So it has 2-point perspective, vanishing points on the left to the edge of the page and the right on the edge of the page with the horizon line. And horizon line is also another name for the eye level. So you're standing on a flat plane, which is called the ground plane, and this top view here is going to show you the side. So it's going to be 3 boxes deep, 1 over to get the L shaped. And here you can see the ground plan, a floor plan, is also on the ground plane, which is the flat surface. So if you can imagine it as the floor or ground that you're standing on. So it makes it that much easier to comprehend. So here we'll just take a look. Here's the page, and just kind of showing you again using the ruler to help you divide a page, whether it's equal or even numbers or odd numbers. And it's especially helpful on an odd number because you can take the edge of the ruler, as you see, and place it up in the top of the edge of the paper, rotate it till it's a number divisible by 3, and that way you can divide it into thirds or whatever it happens to become. So here for the ground plane, we're just going to start. Before you do the line segment, here's just taking 2 lines that go to opposite sides for the left and right vanishing point. And that'll give us the piece. So we'll try it. We'll just estimate and see what it looks like. So from the one edge, you're taking a line that's going across. You're trying to actually draw a rectangular shape, which is in perspective, gives you this oblong shape. And you can always adjust it to fit your page, trying to get a good composition. So anticipating what the drawing looks like, you can scroll ahead or behind and take a look at the finished piece. But that's the initial rectangular shape that we're going to divide. So once you have that rectangle, you're trying to find the center, and this will be easily done. I'm just using Illustrator, so just so you can describe it using the line segment tool, and that allows me just to click and drag with the stroke just filled for black, and the fill is just empty. So when you cross the diagonal, you find the center of a rectangular shape. So keep in mind it's the illusion and the theory, so it's not really a rectangular shape, but it is in perspective, and it works that way, and we'll try to prove that with the geometry at the end, just showing you the rectangle. So taking it from the vanishing point forward makes it a little bit easier. With the computer, you can draw it either direction in pencil, but there it bisects the image in half again, and it's just a matter of crossing that over from the corner into the midpoint and extending it to the base of the rectangle, and that'll give you the distance that you can then just extrude all the way back to the end. So we'll just move the page over so you can see the right vanishing point. Just click and drag this across, as I'm doing in Illustrator. You're just using a ruler, or if you don't have a ruler, just any straight piece of cardboard, whatever you can locate, will help you out. And so you can see it's very similar to the other illustrations of division, but now I have 2 rectangles. Hopefully you can see the difference in there, and it's just all linear drawing so far. So we'll see if this should work pretty easily. So you can do a couple of things, and hopefully you can see the pattern that's coming from there. I'm just going to extend this line, and it's going to intersect in the distance, and that's actually the same idea. It's just dividing that space and projecting it in the distance, and now it's just a matter of continuing that pattern. So I'll just extend this through that point up to that edge. So we won't go all the way because it might get a little confusing. But if you think of architecture, floor plans, it's the same thing. They have to build from the ground up. Drawing, you can draw any which way, but if you're actually building a sculpture or a building, you have to build that section up. So just to prove this part, we'll just take a rectangular shape, arbitrary size, just give it a color so you can see it. So that would represent the first rectangle that we drew. And here's just Option Shift. Let's try that again. So it goes right on there, snap to the edge. And that gives me the two rectangles that we've done. And then just extending one to the right, and you can duplicate out. But so far, that's just the three rectangles that we have. And that's what it looks like in the flat view. Picture plane is now the paper, so it's flat right in front of you. And if you rotated that, you'd put that down there. And here we'll just take and draw the diagonal so you can see that it goes through that midpoint and extends all the way to the corner, and you can see it matches up pretty easily. To show you that it's working in that capacity. Now you can just imagine laying that down on the ground plane, and it would match just what we've drawn so far. Here's the diagonal just to show it to you. The center line. So the geometry is always present in illustration and drawing using a computer. Pixels, vector, everything is connected. And it's all based on the mathematical principles. So it's very, very good. So let's see, we'll just have that selection. And we won't distort it. It's a little tricky. In Illustrator, Photoshop's a little easier to transfer that on to make it look, but we'll just rotate it a little bit. Hopefully you can see where it would lie right down on top of that. And transform that. We'll come back to that later. Can always project that ahead. So now it's just, there's three boxes, and we're just going to extend that part. So it said placing that across. So now we're just going to drag these poles up. Now if this line segment's right from the front, just dragging it up, you can see if you could transfer that to all the points that needed to be, and it would actually transfer itself, but we have to actually draw it in. So we'll take it from the top back, and we'll just draw this as a linear drawing and adjust it. Here's the bottom one going back. Try to make this as simple as possible. We'll draw a little segment from the top. So this is kind of going back to some of the earlier drawings that you may be familiar with, and so we've gone from the ground plane up this time. Okay, and now we'll just try to transfer this up going here. The shift key, and just click it, and it does snap to the line, snaps to the anchor point with the smart guide, so it makes it a little easier. There it goes back to that distance. And you could bring up every corner from the bottom, but we'll just do the ones that we need. Don't want to confuse the drawing. I mean, it's a maze of illustration as you go through it. So there's the two points there. So from here over. So here we're just once I found that piece, just to simplify and clean up the drawing a little bit so that you can see it easier, just shortening those line segments. You don't really know what the other one is, so it's kind of like algebra. You have two known ideas to find the third one. You can estimate it, but since we're doing it accurately, we'll try to follow along with that pattern. So that one would go up from the back on the segment tool. So let's see what we can do. So you can see, it's almost like you're finding the hidden pieces. So that's the back wall of this L shape. Here's the front. You don't really know the distance of some of these, so you're estimating a little bit. But we can go ahead and shorten this one down so you can see the back wall. And like I said, if you see any construction or any buildings out in the real world out there, you'll see this slowly build up, and it does the same process all the way through. It's kind of starting with the foundation, that you can see it as an architectural plan, which we'll take a look at some drawings, and slowly build those pieces up, and extending that one back. So this is going to be the rectangle in front, and when you think about it, it's just two shooting behind it. We'll put a little bit of a guideline there so you can see that, and how it's divided in half, and then we can actually use that piece to help us finish off the end. So there we go, all the way to the vanishing point to the right, and this one coming up from the left. We'll just draw that up. Since I have the light drawing underneath, it's sometimes just a matter of connecting those dots. It makes it really easy. So that's to that section, and then coming back to going from right to left, just passing through those two pieces. So that's where it's connected. And then just taking the direct selection in Illustrator, in this case, in your case, you just use ruler to decide it down. Oop, didn't grab the corner, grab the whole line segment, so let's just take a point, place it right on there, perfect. And you can actually take that out, you don't necessarily need that anymore, just hidden it in there. This one, to just select it, connect it down to the bottom. So it's just a little bit of cleaning this up a little bit so it makes it easier to see. And in Illustrator, these are all line segments, so you can select all these line segments and just join them, and then join Macintosh, and just make it one shape. But just kind of showing the beginning and end. So there you have all the planes. You can kind of see through the drawing to see the underlying sketches there, but when you think of it as illustrating for industrial design, architecture, everything that fits right into that plan is exactly what they do. So here we're just cleaning up this part. And there you have it. Kind of preliminary construction line drawings, which are the lighter ones made thinner in blue. And then this one over is what they call an object line, which is the black segment right on top. And then here it is again, just kind of taking a look. We'll go and finish this off. I always like to just use the pen tool, just trying to make it as clear as I can for you. Just going ahead and making these shapes that represent the panels, and then, like I said, as you're drawing this in pencil, you're trying to shade this so it has a three-dimensional volume to it. And in this case, just using the gradients on the computer. So just taking a color family just from the group in the attributes to bring that up. So in the swatches panel, you just have to get used to grabbing the color first, or just go ahead and draw the illustration and use the coloring second, but just trying to use two tones. We'll mix it up here a little bit just to show some intensity of color, but then come back to it. So again, when you think of it as a house, when they do the building of the structure of the walls, they have the foundation. They put up the 2x4s to make the wall with the stud wall that's in there, and from there they put up plywood, and from the plywood they usually put a felt insulation on the outside, and then the siding. So that's what builds the outside of the wall. The interior wall would have all the electrical plumbing inside of it, and then the drywall would be on the inside of that, along with whatever wallpaper and or painting, depending on which is the style. Just like the room that you're in, just thinking of it, what you can see, and usually it's all hidden in the back. So this green, not too good. I'll lighten that up a little bit and then maybe change the color, but just so you can see it. Simple illustration, 3 different values of a color, and it just makes it there's a little brighter color, but we'll come back to that just to make it tone when we finish it. So just kind of showing you that. So at least it has 3 colors, and like I said, I'll come back and place that in there now. With the, in this case, the light source is kind of from the top, maybe off to the right, and depending on how you illustrate this, in the 3D model you can rotate it 360 degrees on a spherical shape. You can do the same with the drawing, but it does get a little tricky when you're trying to find the projection, because we're assuming that's a perfectly flat surface, and seldom is there any flat surface in a natural world, and usually it's an architectural building. Outside, even in a city, is not necessarily flat. Usually it's just an architectural standpoint. But what you're doing is just kind of projecting the shadow as it comes out from there, and then the angle is the height of the light source, or the sun in this case. And there's a couple illustrations from the coloring, and we'll just switch the color scheme here. Very good.